Okay, this was another requested video. Somebody wanted to know how I did the skirt on this ballerina. So I'm actually putting it directly onto this ATC because it's easier than trying to do it. I think easier for you to see rather than trying to do it on the tea bag. But what I did, I have my image on here, and I'm not going to paint the whole thing in the video. I'll stop this. Mine doesn't pause. It's an old video camera. It won't pause, so I'll have to stop it, and then I'll have to go back and edit it. But I was just going to show you what I used to paint it, and I'll go paint it, and then I'll come back and show you how I did the skirt. I use Reeves gouache. It's not expensive, but it works for me. And they come in a tube. If you use them directly from the tube, of course you don't have to add water. But then I waste it because, well, I have it squirted out and it dries up. But you can, add water and reuse it. So that's what I do. I squirt it into these palettes like this. And then I just wet them when I want to use them. So this, I wanted, excuse me, I wanted this pale pink color. So I just mixed my red and my white gouache together to get this pink. And that's the color that I used on the skirt. And it works very much like watercolor because you can add water to it and lighten it up. But I'm not going to paint the whole thing. I just wanted to show you what I used to do, the skirt originally. And then the other thing that I use, I have Shinhan. It's a Korean brand, and I actually really like them. But I got the whole set off of eBay because I really wanted Daniel Smith is what I wanted, but I just can't afford them. So this is my watercolor palette. So I used a combination of gouache and watercolor. So the color on the skirt was the gouache, and then the color from my Shinhan was this sort of burgundy color. And those are the colors that I used for her dress. So I'm going to stop this. I'm going to go back and paint it, and then I'll show you how I got the splatters on the skirt. Okay, thanks. Bye. Okay, I'm back. So now I just have the base coat on my ballerina. So the thing I do next is I want the background. What I did on here is I put a gray background on this, so I want gray in the background. What I use is I just put it in a little tin. I bought a tube of Payne's gray. Now you can mix your own, but and you'll notice different brands will be, slightly different colors. Some more of a blue gray. This is more of a lighter gray, but anyway, I'm just going to wet it a bit. And then I go to my excuse me, to my image, and I just wet the background because I don't want a dark background. I want it to bleed. So I'm just going to wet it, and just bear with me. If this bores you, please just fast forward. I had somebody complain on one of my other videos that all they were doing is watching me paint, and I wasn't really giving them any constructive, information. And I apologize for that, but I downloaded some software to see if I could learn how to edit my videos, and I haven't been able to figure out how to edit them, speed them up, and do a voiceover. So really, honestly, if you could just bear with me and fast forward through the stuff you don't want to see, because I still haven't figured out how to do any editing, and I know it's annoying to have to sit through it when you feel like you're not getting any information that you need, but It's really hard for people who just started doing this and don't know how to use the software to edit the videos. So anyway, I apologize if this is annoying. Please fast forward. I'm trying to keep it away, you know, so it doesn't bleed into the body. Alright, so we've got that there. And I think it's all wet. Okay, so I'm just going to take a bit, just lightly, add the Payne's gray to the back. I hope I'm still in frame, and I hope my head's not in there. Excuse me. And I want just right in here, I want it just a bit darker. I just want it darker just around that side of the body. The rest of it I'll make it a bit lighter. Alright, now I'll just lighten it up some. I'm just adding a little bit more water. More water. Okay, so that's the gray. I want to leave white because I think it makes it interesting. So I've got the gray around the image. Now, bear with me again. I don't have a pause on my video. I'm going to dry this. Okay, so my background is dry. Now, what I'm going to show you, and then I'll keep going and I'll finish it in the video, but you can stop after this next step if you don't want to watch me. I add polychromo pencils. I add Wink of Stella for sparkle. I I outline it with a fine tip permanent ink marker. And I use metallic gel pen. So if you don't want to watch that, you can stop it after I'm finished showing you how to do the skirt. But I will finish it just so you can see how I finish them off. So, all right, we're here. This is where we are. And I want to make the skirt look like the skirt on the big one. So I'm going to go to my watercolors. This is my Shinhan watercolors. And this used to be Glimmer Mist, but I've got water in it now. And I'm just going to wet these. And it doesn't matter what the color is, just a burgundy color that you have. That's what I'm using for this. And I mean, certainly can change the colors of your skirt. You can make it lilac or whatever. But so what I do is I take, I should move this in here. I just wet my watercolor and I get a big puddle of it and I drop it in where I want it. And I might add more water. It has to be really wet. Okay, so then this is just a regular drinking straw. So then I blow. And I want some more, so I'm going to add some more. And I try to direct it, but with watercolor, it's very difficult to get it to do what you want it to do sometimes. I want some off to the side. Okay, so now that's how I got the big long splatters. Okay, so that's where we are with the big splatters. Now I'm going to dry this. Okay, and it does get warped, but you can straighten it out. I usually go to my iron, and I put a piece of baking paper on the top of it and on the back of it, and I just iron it, and it flattens it out really nice. So anyway, it's warped, but it'll work. Now, I'm not going to use this big round brush that I was using before because the splatters get too big. So I'm going to go back to, does this one say, this is a Daler Rowney, and it's a number 1. So I'm going to use this one, and what I do is I get, the brush wet and the paint really wet. So we'll see if we have enough on here. And then I just take something to tap it against. So I'll just take this, and I want it to go at an angle. So I'm going to hold this piece where when it throws the paint, I want it to throw in that direction. So I'm going to hold it over here. And then I'm going to do the same on this side. And it'll never turn out the same. Like, this one's not going to look exactly the same as the first one I did. And then I want some to go this way. So you get these long sort of thrown splatters. Put a little bit more. Okay, and then I want some in the pink gouache. So I'll bring that back in. Want it. It's harder to get that same look on these small pieces because they're just so darn small. Maybe it's not wet enough. Okay, and I think, let me dry this. I think I'm going to add some more of the burgundy. I don't want that all over it when I bring it back. So let me dry that. Okay, so what I was going to show you is once you've blown it, because it's really hard to control it when you blow it or like when you throw those splatters, because if you can see it, those are the thrown splatters from the paintbrush when I was tapping it against my pencil. But I want some more in here. So what you can do, instead of trying to blow it, if you're trying to direct it in a certain way, is I'll add some more here. Add a lot of water to it. And then I'll direct it. And then okay, and now I want those to go. There, that's better. And then you get these really beautiful spiry kind of things going. And I'm going to go ahead and finish this, but and I'll show you how I use my pencils to add details and stuff, but you can stop it here if that's all you wanted to see how I do it. You can stop it here, but I'm going to go ahead and finish this off and show this person that wanted to see how I do these. I'm just going to show her how I finish it off. So we will go on from here. On this particular one, because oftentimes I use my Prisma watercolor pencils, but on this particular one I'm going to use my polychromos, which are oil-based pencils, because I don't have a burgundy color in my Prismas. So I'm going to use my polychromos. Alright, so let me dry this. Okay, so I'm going to get my flesh tones. Let's see. This one's medium flesh. This is, I don't even know how you say that, Zimtron Cinnamon, 189. This is Venetian Red, 190. This is Medium Flesh, 131. And Dark Flesh, 130. Okay, so I'm just going to take some of these colors and just highlight around the face. Add some more flesh color. And the legs. And you can do this with your watercolors. You don't have to do it with the pencils, but I kind of like it. I like mixing them up. Alright, now before I add any other colors, now some people use baby oil. I don't have a lot of luck with baby oil, so I don't use it, but I'm using, this is Art Spectrum. I don't know what the name brands are in the US, but this is the only one I could find here. It was at the art supply store, and it's an odorless solvent, and I use this to, I just pour some into a little container, and I use this, kind of dab it a little bit to blend those pencils in. Now the other thing you can use is a blending stump. A blending stump. One of these. The problem with the blending stump is I find that if I use it right away, that it burnishes too much of the texture out of the paper, and I can't add more to the top of it if I want. But if you use the solvent, you can go back over it with more colors and add more layers. That's what I find. So I use the solvent. And it will make it look like it has an oily texture until it dries. And it doesn't take much of it, that's for sure. And I would have done the skirt after I do this, but you know, it's not a big deal. I would have done that first. Now this one is light flesh, so I'm gonna go, I better go back up where it's dry. It's better if you let it dry before you go over it with another color. So I'm just going to blend this light flesh into the medium color there. So really this should have been done before I added the skirt, but I wanted to get that out of the way, and then that way people didn't have to watch this part if they didn't want to. Okay, so now I've got the color in. I want to add a dark sort of shadow, and I want to put some highlights on the face. So where's my white? My white. Oh, that broke that. Okay. And the color I'm going to use for, let's see, what's this one? This is burnt ochre. I'm going to use that to do some shadowing, like on the bottom of the arm. I might have to go darker. Yeah. Let's see, what am I going to use? That is this one. This one is Caput Morton Violet. It's 263. So I'm going to go on the bottom and just add some dark shadows. And then on the, under the chin and around the back side of the hairline, because I'm acting like the light is coming from here. So, and this arm will have a lot of shadow on it. And a shadow down here. And maybe along here. And then I'm going to put a highlight on the face. I don't know if this color will do it. This is ivory. I don't think that one's going to do it. Let's try the white. The white's actually not even working. Hang on. Let me try my white in my Prismacolor watercolor pencils. That one might work better. It's a little better. And I'm going to put some white in the hair. Sort of a highlight in the hair. Okay, so now I'm going to use the blending stump, and I'm going to blend in these shadows. I'm just using this ivory to lighten up the shadows a bit down here because they're a bit dark. I might lighten that one up a bit too. Okay, so we have the shadows on her arms and everything. Now, I'm going to do a little bit on the dress. Although I love the colors and everything, I want to highlight that pink a bit. So let me put, oh, well, I might use that white one again. Let me put away these flesh colors so that they're not confusing us. Alright, so on the dress, this one's called Red Violet. It's 194. And I might put a bit of magenta in there, which is 133. And then I want a paler pink. So maybe I'll go with this one. I don't remember what colors I used on the other one. 129, which is Pink Matter Lake. Alright, so I'm just going to put some of this lighter pink up here on the dress and sort of drag it down. I want them to blend together, so I'm going to drag it down into that dark color. And then I don't fill in the whole thing on the skirt. I just add some different areas because I want some of that light pink to show through. So I just add some in different areas to give it some shadows and different, how the light strikes the skirt in different areas will look lighter. So I'll just add some of that in here. Hopefully I'm still in frame. And then I'll go in with the Red Violet 194, and I'm going to put the dark shadows on the back side of her bodice, and I'm going to come over the strap over her shoulder, and I'll put a little bit of dark. There's going to be a bit of a shadow here. I'm going to add a little bit through here. Not much of the dark. I don't want much of the dark in here because it's mostly going to be reflecting off the light, and it's mostly going to be this other color of pink. I'll put a little bit in there. Now I do need to go in with this light pink and go over, these are, you know, one of those little bands that they put around their head with sort of feathery kind of things in it. And then this is her ballet slipper. And I've got the crisscross on the ankle. Okay, so now I just want to put some shadowing in. And maybe some, you know, little darker flowers. Okay, alright. Then I'm going to take the blending stump, because I'm not going to put any colors over it. I don't need to use the solvent. And just blend in those colors. It's hard to do on these really tiny. Okay. Oops, our feet. Then, when I'm finished with that, I go back in with my ink pen, and I don't do this beforehand. I used to do it beforehand, but what I found is because I go in with the pencils and I do so much with the pencils, I end up covering up my ink and I have to go back over it again. Let me cover this. And one thing you'll find, any of these pens, this is a Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen, and it's the extra small. It came in a set. They all have these fiber tips, and honestly, I've used the Micron pens, I've used the Staedtler pens, and all of these pens, it chews up the nib, the texture of the tea bags and of watercolor paper will tear up the nibs on these things before I use up all the ink. It's so annoying, but I can't find a metal tipped like this. This is a Uniball I Micro. It's waterproof, and the smallest you can get in these, this is a metal tip, and this is what I was after. And I went to the office supply again yesterday trying to find one to use these on my tea bags, because the felt tip just tears, it wears down to nothing, and then you can't use the ink. But this only comes in a 0.5, and it's not small enough, and I can't find anything that gives me a small enough tip. But anyway, that's my problem. And I'm just going to do a bit of outlining, and you might have to scribble off. Sometimes these polychromos mess with the pens and they stop writing. I don't have that much trouble with my prismas when I do them, but the polychromos, I guess because they're oil based, I sometimes have trouble with them. Excuse me. I have allergies really bad. A couple of videos I recorded, I had a cold, but I also fight with these darn allergies, and it's a constant thing. It must be something in bloom all year long, because it drives me insane. Alright, and I'm just going to do like scribbly kind of things around the edges here, because I don't want, I want it to look like a ruffled edge to the skirt. I don't want it, you know, real straight, because I want her skirt to look all ruffled. I want some pink on her cheek. Okay, that's better. Okay, so find some other things that I'm using here. And that's my Uniball white gel pen, and this is my clear Wink of Stella. Oh, and this is a metallic silver. I don't know who makes it. Oh, who does make it? But you can find them anywhere. I don't know who that is. Just says Elements on it. It's a gel pen. So the Wink of Stella. And one thing you have to watch out for. I need a new paper towel. When you use this over watercolors or gouache or anything that's water soluble or water activated, you'll get the color on the tip. So I start with my lightest color first and then go to the darker, because otherwise I drag that dark color into my light color, which I don't want to do. But I just want this this sparkle all over the dress. So I'm going to do I have some color on my tip now, so I'm just going to go over the darker areas right now, and then I'll wipe it off because I don't want any of the dark color into the lighter pink. I did what I said don't do. So alright, just make sure there's none on there. Okay, so then we'll go into the light pink. I want the whole thing covered with this Wink of Stella, so the whole thing sparkles. I hope my head's not in there. Sorry guys. I'm just trying to figure out how to do this where it's not annoying. Now I'm going over the dark parts because this will pick up paint and turn my tip dark. And it doesn't matter if the red's on there, I'm going over the hair. Okay, clean that off before you go to use it again, otherwise you'll have pink on your next project. Okay, so then the next thing is I want some white highlights. And I'm just using my gel pen. I'm just putting a little white at the top of her head and on her face. And on the tops of the shoulders there would be a reflection. Okay, this isn't writing.